Okay, now we're going to go into developing a business plan and strategy for a court reporting agency to really dive into the digital evolution. What steps can a court reporting agency take to integrate digital reporters into their business model from your experience?
Okay, so number one, my advice would be to make sure you know the laws of your state. The laws vary from state to state, and I can't give you even a generalization. There's some states that they have title protection, so you have to call them a digital recorder. There's states that I don't want to say a free-for-all, but that are very open to digital reporting, and it's been happening for years. So that would be number one. And number two is know the offerings you're going to have. Are you going to offer summaries? Are you going to offer streaming? Are you looking for a company that can possibly give you real time? Know the offerings that you're going to have for your digital reporters, and check out your competitors. See what they're doing. What are they hiring in your area? Is there a market in your area for digital reporting? So those are the things you need to check out.
That makes total sense. So now that we've agreed that, hey, digital does look like a viable option in my area, I'm excited to dabble in it because my competitors are. What type of hiring strategies would you suggest when looking for digital reporters?
Sure. So hiring strategies, we're going to take this in two parts. One is who should I hire, and the other is what model should I hire them under, either a 1099 or a W-2. So it's actually not even hiring under a 1099. Should I use 1099 freelance workers? So the traditional model has usually, I'm sure there's a few exceptions, always had 1099 workers who work for several CRAs. You can call them. They can say they're busy. They can refuse a job. So that's great if you have ebbs and flows, because we all know feast or famine. If you need 5 reporters one day, 1 reporter the next day. So it's difficult if you have employees to keep everybody busy all the time. On the other hand, you always have your jobs covered if you have employees. You have that level of control where I need you to cover this, not, begging people, please, I need this here and covered. So that's a huge part of it. Now let's go to who should I hire as a digital reporter? So my main advice, and I think I said this in the other module, is to join AAERT as a professional membership.
And for those that are just hearing this for the first time, what does AAERT stand for?
The American Association of Electronic Reporters and Transcribers.
Okay. So it's comparable to NVRA and NCRA.
It is, and it's a certifying body just like NVRA and
nice.
NCRA.
What type of certifications should I be looking for?
So certifications, there's 3 certifications that they issue. CDR is Certified Deposition Reporter, and these are people who are specifically trained to take depositions. They're not trained to work in court. A CER encompasses all. That's Certified Electronic Reporter. So they're certified to work in court and take depositions.
Nice.
And then a CET is a Certified Electronic Transcriber, and that's somebody who has had rigorous training in preparing a transcript. What do you think the essential skills are to look for when hiring a digital reporter?
Oh, that's interesting because I'm on the receiving end of this information, right? So in my business experience, I take and ingest what the reporter gives to the team and produce the transcript. Someone in my mind that's going to be successful here has to be able to navigate and troubleshoot computer problems. And we're talking outside of just the basic internet web searches. They really need to be able to understand their platform and what to do when it breaks. Everybody knows the blue screen of death. It shouldn't put fear in your heart. You should be able to navigate that. You also should have the ability to listen and type at the same time. We're talking about annotations. They might not know what that means yet, but it's the ability to multitask is very important. Adaptability and pivotability are huge. So they should be able to, in the moment, understand that something is happening with their tech. That record has to be taken regardless. So they need to know how to navigate that situation, knowing that you're going to train them and fine-tune the details there. They need to understand what it means to be certified and be ready to take those next steps. It is not just, I'm just going to go take this test and pass tomorrow. It is a competency exam. So that's where, as an agency, you can definitely help navigate that through them. What do the tests look like for you? What's the best one in your mind?
So what I do want to point out is that if you go on AAERT, there's an approved list of schools, and there's schools that will partner with you. If you tell them your specific situation, what state you're in, what equipment you're using, they will partner with you to help you train these reporters, especially with like legal terminology and just how a deposition flows or how a courtroom flows. They'll partner with you to train them and that make these people ready to take a certification test through AAERT.
Yeah, because the barrier to entry, like we talked about before, is smaller, but there is still certifications in place to ensure the integrity of the record. So the other thing I think that is important is while they're taking the deposition to be confident. And I think the AAERT is going to offer them that confidence and they're going to have that certification to back them. I think you and I talk all the time. The best reporter in the room is the one that knows when to stop the proceeding and say, I can't hear you.
Absolutely. And which is a hard thing to teach people because they feel uncomfortable doing
Right?
that. I know I did in the beginning.
Right.
But it's essential. They need to monitor the audio and know when they have to stop things.
I think you suggested to me years ago when we met, every reporter should have to type at least 5 minutes of their own transcript just to see what it is.
Absolutely, because I can just, from my own experience, I'll admit it, there was times where I did not stop a room when I should have.
We've all been there.
Right? And then, but I paid for it later on, listening to it over and over and over again. So once you have to do that, once or twice, you're sure to stop the room because this is going to ruin my weekend.
Exactly.
Right.
And so we talked about CER, CDR, and CET, where the AAERT falls into that process. I know my certification is not one of these. I'm a different type of certified reporter. I do have to take my continuing education classes and my credits. Does the AAERT help support that for their certified reporters?
Absolutely. All three of the certifications, the Certified Electronic Reporter, the Certified Deposition Reporter, and the Certified Electronic Transcriber all have to have CEU credits.
Okay. So now that we've established who we hire, how we hire, what the training looks like for them, now I want to dive into the operational aspects of it for the CRA. I know you had touched on earlier independent contractors or employee models. I know that's going to replicate itself into the business model, the operational back end of it. Can you walk me through what that looks like for a court reporting agency when adapting to digital?
Sure. So at the beginning, I kind of talked about how the job is broken into two parts. So we just went over the part where the takedown is. We've taken the proceeding, we have the notes. Now we have to decide how we're going to get that transcribed. So we would either have to choose a third-party vendor or an in-house team. And that comes down to cost, quality, scalability.
Yes.
And what you want to do is when you're figuring out the cost of this, you need to keep in mind that your in-house team, you're going to need a supervisor, you're going to need a scheduler, you're going to need somebody to oversee all this.
HR for all the people that you're hiring.
Right. HR, or even if you had 1099s, transcribers, one or the other, you're still going to need to manage these people. You're going to have their 1099. That means they, like we learned with the reporters, they can say, I'm not going to take it last minute. You have no guarantee. Or you can go, which I feel is a much easier route because I have experience with both, is hire a third party, hire a reputable third party who has legal experience to send your transcription to.
And to be fair, we've seen it in instances where companies do both. They'll pick an in-house model to handle some of the more regular, predictable work and outsource a lot of the chaotic, crazy work that they're going to struggle to cover.
Or dailies, expedites.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get people to transcribe those. And sometimes there's overflow. So that's why I personally think that even if you have an in-house team, you're really doing yourself a big favor to have a backup for overflow expedites in a third-party partner.
Yeah, because I know a lot of time the CRAs will look at the price of a third-party vendor and say, oh, I could hire somebody to do that. Well, you're not hiring just that one person to do that. You're hiring a team to support that.
And you're hiring somebody to manage them.
Yeah.
So that has to be figured out if you're going to get it down to a per page or per minute rate. You have to have all of that factored into it.
All right, now I think it's really time that we address the elephant in the room. That's going to be the budgeting for the transition. We've decided, hey, this works for my market area. I'm excited about this. Long term, I'm going to have great margins. There's going to be some upfront cost, and I know you've been through this process before. So what key factors need to be considered when venturing into digital?
So the number one thing is the technology costs. You're going to need mixers. You're going to need microphones, startup costs.
Right, and where this is going to differ from the traditional court reporting model is you're going to support the digitals a little bit more here.
Absolutely. Technically, if they were 1099s, they would supply their own equipment. I do find most people go with the W-2 model for digitals, and I don't know why. In my experience. So you're going to need to supply equipment, and you're going to need to train on that equipment. So there's going to be, the upfront cost of buying it. Then you have software subscriptions. Training expenses, you're going to need to hire either outsource the training to a school, or you can have some in-house training on your SOPs. So there's some significant startup costs that you have to budget for.
Yeah, and those tend to leverage out as the cost of employing or gathering digital reporters is significantly less than the stenographers. It's just that immediate upfront cost of getting everything set up. And software here, we're talking about file transfer, the ability for them to take the record down at traditional CAT softwares as court reporters would use, right?
Sure. And then there's things that you might not have thought of, like they have to have a way to get the information to your operations team. So is there an online form you're going to subscribe to that they can upload audio and all their notes and annotations? You have to try to streamline things. You don't want things coming in through email. That's really causes a huge chaos if you just have people emailing you all sorts of stuff. So you have to kind of think of like, how am I going to set this up? There's tons of online forms that you can subscribe to or look into where it would keep everything nice and neat in one file for each job with the audio, the annotations, who took it. And so things like that you need to consider.
Yeah. So you're really looking at the evolution and the life cycle of the job as total, going to take it down, getting it to who's going to transcribe it, where traditionally a court reporter would be the one to house that, send it out to a scopus, a proofreader.
Absolutely.
You're taking ownership of that process.
Absolutely.
And that's where the upfront costs come from. And it is just a startup cost. So knowing that, hey, this might be a bit of a bear in the beginning, it's definitely going to leverage out and give you better margins on the back end.
Sure. So it's a startup cost for the equipment. But when you think about like the online form or maybe some takedown methods are subscription-based, right? You're not buying the whole thing. They want a monthly fee. So it all depends on what you choose, but there's so many to choose from. I would suggest trying at least 3 or 4 of them before making any decision to see what's going to work for you.
Yeah. And I think that's even in our next module, how to assess the technology and what questions to really ask to navigate that for your workforce. Then we're going to dive into, training expenses. And what I love about digital versus more traditional methods is this software is ever evolving and always adapting. It's essentially a race to be the best in the technology field. So they're going to be at the forefront. And that ties back into finding people that are computer savvy and able to navigate this. Is kind of quite exciting. So as a CRA owner, I could say confidently, if I invest in the right technology here, in the long term, I don't have to worry about it anymore. That company and that technology is going to evolve, and I'm going to be right there with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say some advice I can give about picking out a software, go as simple as possible. When you have, especially if you have a third-party vendor, if you can make your takedown software very simple, recording and annotations with timestamps, that's the bare minimum that you need. I've seen some software with all these bells and whistles, and a lot of times it's developed for a reporter who is going to do their own transcripts, that does, some business models have the digital reporters doing their own transcripts. But I feel like simple is better in this case. Let's not give a whole bunch of buttons everywhere that, confuses somebody. There's less room for error.
Right. So
if you have record, stop, playback.
Yeah.
I also think an important feature of digital software is to be able to record while playing back.
Yes.
To me, that is key, because I can't tell you how many times when I have experience with a software that did not allow that, and there was a lot of times going to backup audio looking for what was said. Well,
I know that's one of those misconceptions is, digitals can't play back the question. Yes,
absolutely.
they can.
Right.
I'm so excited for what we covered in this segment. So now we know how to find people and train them and support them. Really, the one that I'm most excited about is our next segment. That's going to be the technology and operations, the nuts and bolts of it all.